Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. As we go to guys on the move here, and the big splash of the day, real big splash of the day is Fred VanVleet going to the Houston Rockets for 3 years, $130 million. Woo! Getting $40 million. There was rumblings that the Houston Rockets were going to go out there and get somebody of a caliber of that nature, a veteran, a point guard at the point guard position. You know, they got Jalen Green, they got the Thompson twin who has a point, who has handles and can be a point forward. And some people are questioning this, and I'm just like, it's not really a bad move for the Houston Rockets right now, right? Like, you're getting a guy who's a championship player, a guy who has some pedigree, undrafted player, who came into the league, got the first $100 million contract as an undrafted player, continuing to build on his resume. And he's not the best shooter in the world, but he's at least a solid guard, a veteran who's going to compete on both ends of the ball, shoot the ball, facilitate, and be an adult in the room for the Houston Rockets. I don't think that delays their development, if anybody there. I think it just gives them another serviceable player that can potentially help them build this team up. You still have Jabari Smith, you still have Segun, Kevin Porter Jr., Jalen Green. He's been a championship player. He's a veteran in this league right now. And I think that's more of the role he's going to play there in Houston. I don't think he's going to go there to be the guy, even though he's paid like it. But I just think it's a nice development move for the Houston Rockets going forward. And potentially with the TV deal going up, could be a trade chip, could be a help in a trade that facilitates a deal that benefits the Houston Rockets. So there's always that option with these type of contracts. And I think people kind of just look at the numbers and get shocked. And it's like, we saw John Wall get moved. We saw Russell Westbrook get moved. We saw Ben Simmons get moved. We saw people who we didn't think were going to be moved or couldn't be moved be moved. If NBA teams want to deal with each other and find a way, that will happen. And that was evident in the past couple of seasons, and that can be evident here with Fred VanVleet down the line. Right now, I think he's just going to help them develop and get them kind of on the right track where Ime Udoka could be a veteran, be a tough guy on that team, and give them some grit, give them some veteran leadership, get these young guys on the reps, and we'll see how that turns out. Another big stunner of the day is Bruce Brown going to the Indiana Pacers, and that was a shock for sure, especially after Mike Malone at the Denver Nuggets parade said that he was not going to be going anywhere and that the Nuggets were going to be keeping him. I guess Bruce Brown saw that 2 years, $45 million, and was like, nope, gotta go, man, gotta go. He's already got the ring. He already has that championship. I feel like this is smart to get that 2-year deal. I think that's a team option in the second year, but he's going to be able to get out of that contract, whatever the case may be, in a couple of years. Play with a guy like Tyrese Halliburton, who I'll talk about later, but kind of play without the ball, kind of be a tough defender for the Indiana Pacers, who were a top seed in the East before the injury to Tyrese Halliburton and all that happening to him. So to sit there and get a guy like Bruce Brown who can help them continuously probably be out of the play-in, probably try to get out of the play-in, build out of the play-in, and be a playoff team for this Indiana Pacers team is going to be interesting. It was an interesting move. I like the move for him. I like the move for Indiana. It's not going to hurt them long-term or anything like that. It gives them some more flexibility. Let's continue to go on with a big West Coast signing. Gabe Vincent, the guy who had a nice showing in the NBA playoffs this past year. In the past couple of years, he's been playing well. Undrafted, able to work his way up to a starting role with the Miami Heat, and you get a guy of that caliber who competes on both sides of the ball, despite his size in the NBA, today's NBA. He's able to shoot it, able to be a nice point guard, and that's something that the Lakers desperately needed, right? Like, they needed somebody else to be able to knock down shots, able to play a little, take the ball handling duties away from LeBron as much, and play as a natural point guard. Try to get some scoring in there, of course, shooting the ball really well. I like the move for the Lakers. I think it's a smart move. Taking a swing on a guy who has been in that Heat culture, and, you know, that thing speaks volumes and kind of hides certain things, and maybe he can turn out good there. You know, that happens sometimes when guys go to certain teams. They actually leave, and then they're not the same guy. So we'll see that the case with Gabe Vincent and see if he's able to continue his strong play from Miami. Moving on, we got Max Strus here. 4 years, $64 million going to the Cleveland Cavaliers. I believe they're trying to work out a sign and trade so Miami's not empty-handed. But that looks like a deal that's going to be done. Max Strus is going to be the shooter that Cleveland desperately need. They try to do it with Isaac Okoro, try to have other guys shoot it, and they just weren't hitting against a guy who has as many threes as he does, and a guy that has that volume, and a guy that kind of competes on the defensive end. Max Strus is going to fit really nicely in Cleveland, I think, especially with Donovan Mitchell and Darius Garland getting most of the attention. And then you got Evan Mobley up front. So it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out in Cleveland, but I think Cleveland got a good one here and probably solved their shooting woes, at least from a one-player perspective. Moving on here, we got Dennis Schroeder going to Toronto, 2 years, $26 million. Nice solid deal for him, especially with Toronto losing Fred VanVleet. They need another point guard. Dennis Schroeder's at least serviceable. You know what I mean? He's going to be a solid point guard for them. Lots of international flavor on there that he can bring to that team. On the move again for him, going to Toronto now and seeing if he can get those minutes. He's going to get the ball in his hands a lot. See if he can blend with Pascal Siakam and OG Anunoby. We'll see how that plays out for him, but I like the move for him. Not mad at it. Seth Curry, not Stephen Curry, Seth Curry, who was on Brooklyn last year, was in Philly prior, and then was in Dallas at one point in time. Is signing back with the Dallas Mavericks. He played well there when his time was there, going back and playing with Luka, going back and playing with his college teammate Kyrie Irving that they went to Duke together. And that's just going to be a nice solid pairing. It gives them another shooter, gives them somebody that can space the floor. Not sure he's going to hold up defensively for them, but the fact that he can shoot the ball the way he does is very impressive. And I thought this was a good move as well, moving on here. We got Derrick Rose going to Memphis for 2 years, $6.5 million, roughly around there. To give him that mentorship that John Morant needs, be an adult in the room, a guy that has been on those levels of John Morant. Derrick Rose is MVP of the league. So for him to go down to Memphis, basically play that mentor role to a John Morant, and absolutely get back on the court in some capacity. I think it's a good move for them. I think it's a good move for Memphis. Having all those young guys down there, really needed somebody who has been probably the peak of a player, right? He's been an all-star player, multiple-time all-star. Derrick Rose was the shit, basically. So for him to go to Memphis now and play a different role in his career, and especially with a guy like John Morant, who you can kind of say is similar to Derrick Rose and those type of athletic finishes, acrobats, dunks, finishes, how they play, herky-jerky. Going to be interesting to see how that plays out. But I like the move. I like the move for the Memphis Grizzlies. I like a lot of moves that the teams made today, thinking smartly with development moving forward, putting pieces together.